Hello and welcome to Luffy's Crew TCG or LCTCG. I'm here with Quinn. We're going to be looking at the starter decks and we're going to see if we think that these will have as big of an impact on the OP11 format as people are theorizing. Do you have any initial thoughts on that?
That sounds fine to me.
Just like in general, like do you agree or disagree with the
Oh,
statement that they'll have a major impact on the meta?
uh, I think like one deck changes the meta, and the rest are honestly
With
not gonna do
Buggy, I presume.
the buggy and then
Yeah.
teach to a tiny extent. The rest of the decks like they get better, but they're just not enough to deal with blue purple consistently enough.
Yeah, I think green purple, like the beer Luffy, probably like takes that one to another level.
I think a
Um,
lot of work that like Shanks already killed green purple with fire. Buggy is already fine. Was already getting probably fine into it. I think I forgot what I wrote down, but it's like all the matchups, I don't think get shifted in a way that justifies change making any of these decks. I think just some of them get away from 50-50s or just like reified. They're already a dominating matchup.
yeah. Um, which I think in a format in like the East where it was play blue purple Luffy or Betty or lose, getting to the point where we're having more 50-50s is probably
Solid.
good. So I
Like
mean,
this is definitely a different meta than the East. Obviously, I
yeah.
don't think it's gonna be those three decks or die. Like I think both Teach, Buggy, and Black Purple can exist in this meta to an extent, and that then justifies a lot of different off meta decks that we're not used to seeing, even to counter those. Like Teach, Buggy kills Teach, so more Buggies pop up. Blue Purple, Black Purple's fun, but then like I think Nami can start popping up more than it is in the East too, because it probably has decent matchups into other things that we just don't know yet. Because this meta
Yeah.
is just such a thing where we have like 5 decks that can all be playable
Um,
better than the last meta.
yeah, we can go ahead and go through them one by one. We've got some things prepared. We're going to talk about the different cards that each starter deck gets, and how they change the way that the deck's going to play in our version of OP11. And potentially, if you want to play any of these decks, what you should be looking for. We don't have any lists put together, but talk about if we think a card's playable at all, or if we think you should play it at 4 or 2, yada yada, and we'll go through them one by one. For
Starting with
Shanks,
the worst one
yeah,
by far.
by far the worst one. Both probably out of box for the event, but also just in general for the support that it gets.
It adds
Um,
hard, and the deck itself is inconsistent for the starter deck event.
yeah, because there's only a couple red-haired pirates type cards, and they're not very good.
They're
Ziasop is questionably playable, um, but I mean, I just
maybe it's
don't think
not
it
but like
doesn't
that.
really jive with the what Shanks tries to do. Like the only card that really, or the only character that really benefits from having Arrested Dawn is the other Yasop, which
Yeah, and
only
like
gives you minus 1k power. So I mean, it doesn't
the
really
only
do a
I
whole
feel like
lot.
the only effect, like reason you want to play this out over like an Uda or something else, like maybe setting up early on a 1 Dawn turn and your hand's already loaded with everything else you need. But other than
Yeah,
that, it's like a 1-drop searcher is 10 times better, or the stage is 10 times better. But
because it's one of those things. Like Shanks's issue wasn't like, oh, I don't have the ability to get Rested Dawn on
it's
my
like
stuff efficiently. Like that just doesn't make or break his game
you
plan
don't
in any
like
way.
need Dawn when you have two 12k bodies swinging at you every turn.
Yeah.
Like
So Yasop doesn't really do a whole lot. Speaking of the stage, there's this Luffy, which is another one of the film cards that was added on. So it's unsearchable, unlike the stage.
and
Um,
it's a worse version of the
it
stage
is, yeah,
because
it's
you're
the
at
worst version of the
Dawn.
stage.
I don't remember this. Does the stage rest at Dawn too?
Yeah, you have to rest a dawn, so it's like you have to keep
Okay.
using it, whereas the stage just gives you the -1 for free, and
Yeah.
it costs 2.
Yeah, it's like you have to pay 1 extra to general, but then you can use it every turn, and like one card in the entire game can remove it, so it's just not that
Like
pressing.
the only upside to this card is that it has counter, and it allows you to get the stage effect, and you don't have to pay the 2 Dawn on one turn. You could technically spread it out across multiple turns, but the fact that you can swing into it and lose your stage just like makes it
someone's just gonna swing their 1-drop searcher into it.
Or your leader. I mean, leader swinging, you just can't protect it. And I just once again, I don't think that it really helps Shanks' game plan out. Like even the version that ran the stage and that did do like KO or power based KO removal, just doesn't really need this, I don't think. And so
doesn't need an extra another 1,000 power.
Yeah.
Rayleigh doesn't rely on that. New Game maybe needed that sometimes, but like that was when Vegapunk was meta and had like 6k bodies across the board. But
Right.
now anything.
And then one of the more frustrating cards in this starter deck, the Ben Beckman, because this one on play, we should, just because I like listening to One Piece videos, and so we should read these out whenever we go through them from now on. So fair. This one reads, just in case if you aren't watching, on play, you may trash 1 card from your hand if your leader has the red-haired pirate's type, so it is leader locked. You may KO one of your opponent's characters with a 4,000 base power or less. So it's insanely restrictive. Yeah, so it's already expensive. It's 4/5. It's leader locked, and it KOs a character with base power, so you aren't even able to like reduce to get it there.
I think I get the theory why they had it at base power, because it synergizes with the what's the blocker? I always forget his name.
Lucky Roo, yeah.
Being a 6k base power, but like it doesn't make sense as an on play versus like on KO. That makes sense, but on play it should never be base power. It's just like functionally useless. At worst, it should just been drop the cost, drop the power, make it a 2k. But with that's annoying to have a base power instead of just the power. But
because I get it with Lucky Brew, because I think they were trying to avoid Shanks players from being able to like minus 1k a 7 and then pop it, and so but this just doesn't make sense. It's an activate main effect. I feel like you should be able, like, I don't know. It's
on play effect.
Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but it's an on your turn effect is what I was wondering.
It's just not good. Like it should not see play in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, 100%.
Like maybe it helps out the Belo Betty matchup, but like even then it's pretty dog shit. Just play something else.
Yeah,
you're already losing that.
Then the Uda, this one also kind of questionable. It's a 2k, but it's unsearchable.
I can see it getting some play as like a 2 of, because of the -4 cost with the 10,000 power stuff. Like if you have Shanks, and this allows you to be if you're playing the Rush Shanks, it allows you to do
like
what's his name?
Here's the thing:
Monkey Dragon plus Uda on the same turn, which is pretty nice.
If this card was a 6 cost 6k, I think it would be so much better, because it's like the only value you get out of like meeting that requirement and getting it to be a 2 cost in hand is a 2 cost 4k.
Yeah.
And so it's like you aren't getting a steal from having the effect made.
It's like a 2 cost blocker though. That's I think what it is, because most blockers that are 2 cost are like 1k power or don't have 2k counter. So I think if you're looking at like a 6k 4k, yeah, it's bad, but a 2k 4k, I think it's solid enough to get play. If you're
but that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think a 2 cost 4k blocker is the strongest thing in the world, because you still hit it with a lot of those effects that make chump blockers not be able to block, but by meeting the effect of having a 10k power character, all you get is to play it for a reasonable cost. Because it's it's inherently too expensive, and meeting the condition just makes it cost what it should have costed already, which doesn't feel that powerful.
Like I think like I said, I think the only use for it is like if you have a Shanks established or some other 10k power and you go to Uda. But even then, it's going to be just questionable, because like if you're not, that's not good in this meta at all. Like Rush Shanks isn't good anymore.
I just think if with how power creep this game has gotten, especially in OP11, like if this was just like you got to play a 2 cost 6K blocker, and at the cost of it being a 1K, I'd take that any day, because it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you an effect where it's actually rewarding to meet the condition and cheat it out for cheaper than you should be able to play it.
And also, it's like, I think none of my conversation matters when it's just an unsearchable card.
This
like,
is true. Yeah.
Like, if it was maybe searchable, I think more play could be seen. But being unsearchable on computer luck is horrible.
It's not Straw Hat Crew or Red Haired Pirates, and Shanks is never running a film searcher, so that's a whole that this card's just never going to be searchable, no matter what engine you choose to run.
The only card.
Yeah, the only real good card for Shanks in this this starter deck is the 9-cost 10K Shanks. It reads, if your opponent has a character with 8,000 base power or more, give this card in your hand -3 costs, so it costs 6 to play out, but it would be a 9 cost when you played it onto the board. On play, if your leader has the red-haired pirate's type or is Uda, your leader gains plus 2,000 power until the your opponent's next end phase. This makes you a 7K leader, assuming you're a 5K leader. If you're Shanks, that's what you are.
And even more OP with the Shanks effect on it, because now at even 7K things you just minus for free.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think the idea of this, I don't think was necessarily to help out for the blue-purple Luffy matchup. I think it does that. I think when they were designing this card, they probably weren't thinking blue-purple Luffy was going to be crazy, because I imagine they were designing this card while...
I think they just got to test the blue-purple deck ever and just released it.
I mean, that's probably true. I think they were just like, let's make a card that makes Shanks be competitive. I think, honestly, I would buy that Bandai printed this card as helping Shanks against red-purple Luffy, and it just so happened to help against blue-purple Luffy for the same reasons, because they're both decks that play big boss monsters faster than Shanks can play big boss monsters.
Like, though, also another positive, like, it's not a big effect, but it definitely just makes that Lucci matchup even more dominant than it already was in the meta. Because, like, if they establish because Jackson AK or whatever, now you're just playing this for free earlier than they can possibly continue to pop shit all the time. But the other problem with my one problem with this card is I think they're restricting it to having it only being an 8,000 boss power means that you're playing this, like, I don't know what you're playing out with it. Like, you play the 6 costs, what 4 or less costs are you playing out with the Shanks character? Like, unless I'm missing, like, blockers that exist or other smaller bodies that are good.
I think the idea is if you're on 10, you play this, and then you'd hypothetically be able to play, like, that Uda.
That's fair. I guess starter deck can make sense. My only problem is, like, if my Dawn is just going to be this, which doesn't have Rush, followed by, like, when I've already had a 10 cost Shanks and then putting, like, 4 onto my leader, I'd rather just play another 10 cost Shanks or Gold D Roger to go 12, 13, 5 rather than 12 and then 9.
Which I think that's fair. Well, because it would be
12 and oh no,
because it plus 2 on your leader, so it would be 4. So it'd be 11K with lead while still establishing this 10 cost body on the same turn, which is decent.
I'm
tripping.
No,
but it's not crazy.
The deck's still bad though. It's the problem.
It's one of those things with how it's like I was saying with the Uda, like with power creep in this game, if you meet the condition, you are able to play a 6 cost 10K, which is good, but it's like alternatively you just have a 9 cost 10K.
Yeah.
Which, even with the powerful effect, still feels a little bit lackluster compared to what like blue purple can do.
Like, I think all it does, because like unlike the beer Luffy with the win attacking effect, having the 7K be only a one-time thing makes you just like, it feels more of a delaying the inevitable type card where like you're going to lose this game the next turn after most likely.
Right.
Like with the Beer Luffy, you can always be a 7K. I think if it had a when attacking effect, it'd probably be just like actually could make Shanks exist in this meta.
But yeah, so we can go through what I have written down for the Shanks starter deck, specifically going through matchups. Blue Purple Luffy is still pretty bad. You have the new 9 cost, which, like we said, definitely helps out when you're going up against Blue Purple because they play out their stuff really fast, and you're able to play out a 6 cost 10k when they ramp to play out their 8 cost bodies or their 8 cost category or one of their Sanji or Lin, something along those lines.
You just have to, like, the only way to win that matchup though is to see like all of them though in back to back to make you a consistent 7k leader. Because the second you drop the 5k on that next turn, they're just gonna blow you out of the water with like 4 9k swings plus whatever their leader is.
Yeah. Next is Belo Betty. Belo Betty still probably high rolls you a lot. If they see Karasu, they functionally make your leader effect useless.
It's just too fast and too wide most of the times. And trying to starve them in this matchup, it just relies on them not seeing, like, say, a 6 cost Koala. I mean, Rayleigh's nice in here, but you have to live and have a decent amount of life at the end of the game to have a chance here. Like, if you make it to end game and you're at 2 or 1 life, that game's over. You're not gonna establish enough.
Obviously, yeah, you can definitely still rock with the starve strategy, and try to just starve them out and math them out in one turn. But yeah, like cards like Koala and then now the Zeus that a lot of Betty decks are running in OP11 just give them so many ways to get value and take their own life if you choose to not give them cards, and so they're going to see the cards anyway.
The best card in this matchup for you is going to be the Lucky Roo, because that just helps minimize lanes, obviously. But
if you're able to see Lucky Roo, then this matchup goes a completely different direction.
Yeah, but you need to see, it has to be like at least 2 Lucky Roo. Slowing them out in 1 turn is not enough for you to establish enough to compete, because they'll just reestablish you next turn for as many things that they see fit.
Yeah, being able to establish Lucky Roo and then maybe like a Beckman, another Lucky Roo, like that could completely change the game in your favor.
You have to see the ideal curve in this matchup, I think, to win it consistently, but you can
Rayleigh too, huge.
This is definitely not the matchup that kicks Shanks out of the meta. I think all the rest of the matchups, like, they're not the best, but like you can deal with it more than Blue Purple.
Yeah, next is Buggy. I played Buggy in OP09 before the starter decks, and this matchup was terrible for Buggy, but now he has the ability to keep up with Shanks now, I think. Because the biggest thing was on Shanks, you were able to just... it was too slow for Buggy to fill up his board to start using the 10 cost. But now he has ways to do that a lot faster. And so Buggy's probably just going to play pretty well into Shanks because you're going to get to your 10 cost. And Buggy plays so well into decks that just drop one big thing a turn because they have a red rock attached to their 10 cost 12k body that just sends that to the bottom of your deck every turn. So unless if you're playing multiple things out, he's not going to be sweating at all if he's able to see his Buggies.
I slightly disagree on this matchup, I think, on the base, like, I think Buggy has to be able to establish a 10 cost and be ready to establish it before you can play a Rayleigh out, because I think if you Rayleigh the board, they're pretty much done for, because a lot of the characters that I believe are added to make the matchup a lot more even are very low power characters. They're not sitting in that awkward 7k power like the blocker is, so you can still remove them relatively easy, I think, with a lot of the pop deck. Like
I think if you see the Crocodile Mihawk or the Meecroc, or as people are calling it, I think you just don't have that issue.
Yeah, if Buggy sees Croc Mihawk, the matchup sucks. But if they don't see it, like, before you start popping with either what's their name?
Yeah, I guess my thing with Buggy has always been Buggy will see what he needs to see. Like, you can get insanely unlucky for sure, but it's like he has so many like searchers and peel off and then draw two, trash one triggers that he's gonna cycle and see everything that he needs to see as long as he's running 4-ubs. Which
See, that's fair enough. They probably all are. There's no off now.
it's definitely like this is not like a fucking Buggy v Blackbeard matchup where it's like the Shanks are just gonna get rocked, but it's like if you
it's definitely more 55-45 than where it was like with like fucking used to be where Buggy just had to concede off rip.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And then Purple Black Luffy with their Beer Luffy and Gum Gum Giant, I think will probably do well into Shanks because it's like if they're able to be a 7K base, one Gum Gum Giant is going to get them to be able to counter 2K. Out of your like 10 cost Shanks alongside what is it, a 2K? Yeah, because that's 7 plus 4 is a.
Yeah, I thought you were about to say the Gum Gum Giant purely gets you out, but yeah, Gum Gum Giant and 2K.
Yeah, and so a 2-card answer, which only goes -1 because Gum Gum Giant is a neutral.
I mean the Beer Luffy is very poppable though with Shanks. It's a 7K leader, so I mean that's an awkward number for Rayleigh. Actually, never mind.
Yeah,
it's not the greatest number, but you can at least Rayleigh -3 to the other thing, pop the other thing, and swing into it at least. Like, you can remove it, but it being a win attacking and on play, and everyone's going to be running a 4 of it is going to make it a lot harder to.
Yeah, from my understanding is like, it's definitely a question of removing the Beer Luffy, but also like, from what I've heard, they just like see it, like they just have so many opportunities to see the cards they need to see.
Yeah, there's so much like 1-drop searchers for Straw Hat Crews in this game.
Yeah. It's a very consistent archetype, and so it's like, sure, you can kill one, but it's like if you're banking on if I can get rid of this, I'll be fine, and then they just drop another one in response. Like,
yeah, it's just Beer Luffy is just if they see Beer Luffy twice, you probably lose.
Yeah, because I mean, it makes it too hard to kill them. Yeah. Then next we have how it will help other decks, which we can be quick. It's just RP Uda. RP Uda isn't great though because, like I have written on here, it doesn't beat Blue Purple Luffy, and it folds to a lot of the decks that do, because all it is a Shanks that ramps. So a lot of these reasons why we went over why Shanks can't compete and why this gameplay or this style of dropping one big 10 cost red character a turn just isn't going to work in this meta. It's the same reason why Red Purple Uda can't function. She can just do it a little bit faster than Shanks can.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like... Oh, let me look one thing up really quick. Oh, yeah, never mind. That joke is not going to fly. But, I mean, like, if you want to cope, I guess. Like, I played someone who was playing RP Uda at Treasure Cup in EBO2. Like, if you want to cope heavy, I guess these cards are a little more gas for you. Like, the Uda consistently fits in the power more, because you need more blockers, I guess. But, like, outside of that, it's pretty dog shit still. But yeah, I guess you want to have fun with that.
We can go a little bit quicker on this one because some of these cards are just, like, bad and we don't need to talk about them as much. I think we spent, like, 15 minutes on Shanks alone.
That's not that.
But we'll go ahead and go over Kid and Killer. I think this is honestly probably one of the best cards that Bonney got.
Agreed.
I mean, it is a good searcher that allows you to have this just thing that sits on the board and gives you a Dawn whenever you need it.
Like, you no longer have to sit here and awkwardly leave one Dawn up on curve, and now you can just fucking crash and resand. Read the effect, don't forget.
Yeah, oh yeah, sorry. So yeah, on play, it's a searcher, looks at the top 5, finds a supernova, and bottoms the rest. But then on your opponent's attack, you can trash the character and set up to one of your Dawn cards as active, and that's 2 cost 2K, 1K counter, Kid and Killer.
Really helps out that second turn, going second.
100%. And then another card people were pretty excited about that I think is all right is the 5 cost X Drake. It's a 5 cost 5K, 2K counter. If your leader's a supernova, so it's locked, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, then set up to one of your Dawn cards as active at the end of this turn. It's also
And
pretty
it's a 2K.
good. It's a
That,
2K.
yeah, comboing with like Cavendish or Carrot to get like double freezes or 4 Dawn restood on a turn.
Yeah. Then another major card they got, more so for Carrot, as we'll talk about later. But Law and Beppo, it's a 10 cost 11k with no counter. On play, you rest one of your opponent's characters, and then that character will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. Pretty crazy. It does not specify a cost or power. Then, if your opponent has 2 or more rested characters, your leader gains plus 2k power until the end of your opponent's next end phase. So another way to get your leader to be a 7k during your opponent's turn.
Gas against Teach, Gas against Shanks, Gas against... Just a generically good card.
Yeah.
Being able to rest and freeze anything is amazing.
Yeah, so Bonney as a leader, we already went over how Kitten Killer is a crazy card, but the Law and Beppo is pretty good too. The biggest issue that Bonnie's going to face in this meta, in the East, she was pretty decent in the periods of time where Blue Purple wasn't running the 8 cost category, but the 8 cost category just kind of like makes Bonney into Blue Purple very, very difficult, because it's like if they sequence it well and just establish enough 8 cost categories, like your leader effect just doesn't matter, because it's like you are able to rest their 8 cost category using your leader effect, but then they can just restand it at the end of their turn, and so your leader effect just got half of the value that it normally does by keeping the thing rested going into your turn, so you could potentially like swing into it or whatever. But
you're the rulebook nerd here, but how does like what's the word, the Law and Beppo, for example, you freeze like say the Katakuri or whatever, can they restand it through the Katakuri effect even if they froze it?
Yeah, so the specifically like the Law and Beppo says it will not become active in your opponent's next refresh phase. So end of turn effects like the Katakuri effect, it'll still be able to restand it. So if you use the Law and Beppo on Katakuri, like they're just gonna be like okay, and then restand it.
Yeah, what about like Bonney freeze? Because isn't that just a, like? No, it's probably the same thing.
Yeah, because it's like it just any like a lot of the things that stop your opponent's characters from refreshing
are
specified during refresh phase. I think that this game would benefit from going in the direction of like that Arlong from EBO2, but for like restanding, like this card can't restand until insert certain time. As it stands right now, most of the card effects are just like won't restand during refresh. So if you can restand it outside of refresh, you're fine.
Yeah. So yeah, Bonnie's just kind of garbage into Blue Purple.
Yeah, Blue Purple is really rough, which is weird because it's like it sucks because Bonnie's decent into a lot of other things. Like I think Bonnie's pretty good into Buggy, because you're able to rest their stuff
and swing into it.
Like
this meta though is like you have to have at least a winnable matchup into Blue Purple, otherwise your deck is just not viable, and Bonney falls into that.
This is true. Yeah, I don't think you can get away with doing super well with Bonney at any major event unless if you just like get really lucky and dodge Blue Purple,
or they don't, something like that.
Yeah, like it's rough. But yeah, you're decent into Buggy because you can rest their stuff and prevent them from being able to build up their board and use the 10 cost. You're decent into green purple Luffy because of 8 cost Kid. Did you have something to say for Buggy?
I was just saying it's like because a lot of the Buggy cards are like now 4 cost 2Ks, 2K power, right?
Yeah, but well, that's the some of them have like increased power on your opponent's turn.
Okay.
So you wouldn't, but like the blocker, you'd be able to for sure rest and then swing into it.
Either way, there's shit you can just fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, you still have 8 cost Kid for green purple, but I think that probably hurts your chances in blue purple, because that card just doesn't do anything for you into blue purple. But
sitting there and choosing which deck you want to have a better odds against, but like. I think any Bonney deck should be picking up a better odd against green purple because like I don't think anything you do is gonna fix the.
Yeah, if you're building Bonney in this format, it's because you want to dodge blue purple and do pretty good into everything else.
Yeah. That's like only way you have a chance with Bonney.
How the Bonney deck helps other decks, like I mentioned earlier, the Law and Beppo is super good in Carrot. It's a Minx type card, and so it will be able to be restood off of Zoe. And also it'll turn on your leader effect so that you're able to use your leader to like rest something,
It's a sick card. Like
yeah.
freezing anything and then restanding it every single turn, so you just have an 11k that cannot be killed pretty much, and like anti-black meta is devastating. Like that thing will stick on the board.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very, very good. Yeah, I think for Carrot specifically, I don't know if it's a super viable leader. Because into blue purple, you functionally have a vanilla leader. Because you have a 3-cost Zoro.
Press hard in that damn deck.
Yeah, 3-cost Zoro or Zorojuro is like the only thing that you can rest.
4-cost Zorojuro too, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, well, no, not blue purple doesn't run that.
I saw played against a couple that have, but that's a less common card.
That's real. But you play decently into Betty because you can rest, and it's Betty and Zoro because you can rest their stuff before it gets to attack into you, which is pretty solid.
Carrot's really good as a anti any matchup that's good into blue purple, so that's kind of just how it is. Like, you can rest anything that's super rush heavy, and it will win those matchups. But decks that are going to be more establishing, Tej, blue purple, Buggy, Shanks, so on and so forth, are just you're not winning against. Shanks is different, but like right. But that deck's bad anyways.
All right, we can go ahead and hop right into Buggy.
Best starter deck by far.
Yeah, 100%. This deck
did not miss.
Absolutely insane. All the cards here are really good because what he got is a bunch of small bodies that count towards the leader effect, which is pretty solid.
Plus, putting the promo Buggy in this starter deck makes it so sick because now just more people have access to it too.
Yeah, because it's like before, in order to get this card, you had to compete at the OP10 pre-release, but now
you just have it.
Yeah. Which is major for the Betty matchup. Then you have Crocodile Mihawk, which is an 8-cost 7k. On play, you draw 2 trash 1, and then play a cross guild with a cost of 4 or less from your hand. And then once per turn, if a cross guild type character would be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, you can trash a card from your hand instead, which is pretty solid.
This is probably the single best card to come out of all the starters.
100%. I mean, it's like he's no longer weak to you removing a card from his board every turn because
just being able to stop. Like Buggy's problem was like people would just remove anything they feel like, but now it's just like, well, shit, you can't do anything. I'm gonna leave this. I'll trash a card. I don't care.
Right. But he got some other cards like this Moji blocker. It's pretty solid. Kabaji, the same blocker. But generally, the idea is if you have characters other than them that have a base cost of 5 or more, then they go from 4s to 5s, which matters for the 10-cost Buggy effect, which
and
is pretty
all
solid.
Of them can be played off Croc and Mihawk, including the Buggy, the SR Buggy that plays out a 6k. So functionally, the Croc Mihawk, just for 8, you can play out an 8 and a 6-cost character.
Yeah.
Which is an insane combo to be hitting.
For matchups, blue-purple is very, very winnable. Your Croc Mihawk, or Me-Croc as people call it, is a major difference maker because it's like if they aren't able to remove as much of your stuff, and then also like 9 Mom isn't able to put stuff into your life, which is huge.
Having that set up plus the 10 cost right after is going to be huge.
Because like once you're able to start dropping your 10 cost, you can bottom whatever blue purple plays as long as they don't play a Sanji. So if they don't see their Sanjis and they just play like if you like are in a position where your best play as the blue purple is to hard play a 9 mom, like not off of a Sanji, you don't get to put anything into life because they can save it, and then it just gets bottom decked off of the buggy next turn. You're just probably gonna lose.
Yeah,
which is
it's
really
like
good.
9-cost Sanji and a 9 mom is a little different, obviously, but still, like, if you can turn them back into just like a normal purple deck that's playing one character at a time, that shifts the matchup so heavily, at least to a 50-50, where you're just sitting there like, well, deal with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Dofi and Lucci in the 8.5 meta, where it's like if you can like play 2 bodies a turn against Lucci, you win. If you can't, you lose. I think it's like that. If they're able to Sanji into something, they're probably going to have a decent chance into you, but if they don't, they're just probably going to lose.
Yeah, it's like they have to see it consistently. Otherwise, those bodies would just be removed so quickly.
Betty is one of this deck's best matchups. Betty is going to lose if you see the 7-cost shoe buggy, because that card stops 3 costs and 4 costs from being able to attack, which is just ridiculously good.
Which is in this new version of Betty, the entire deck.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe 6-cost Koala, and I think some of the people are running 7-cost Sabo.
Well, there's the 5-cost Ivankov, and then your 1s and your 2s can still attack. It's like your Belo Betty, and then your
Even then,
your Koala.
Plus, it makes Karasu, because like Karasu's on attack effect.
Yeah.
It's like it makes
you only get the on play.
Being able to just turn off so much and making it like 3 5K swings at you versus 3 8K swings at you is
playing Karasu feels a lot worse as well, because it's like the idea of Karasu is like you're playing a 4-cost 5K that does -1 to something, but you're establishing a body that can swing. So it's like if Karasu, you're just playing it for the -1 to leader, becomes way worse.
Yeah, and if they're playing this deck, I like how we're predicting them to play this deck like at a more high rate. I do think a lot of Belo Betty decks are going to shift back into more maybe either a Monkey D Dragon or having some sort of red or yellow removal that can just get rid of that fucker.
Which I don't even really know if you can.
Yeah, I don't know if those exist, but if they do, they'll find them and they'll have to play them for this matchup if Buggy gets as popular as people are saying it.
Blue Purple Luffy is or Black Purple Luffy is probably 50-50. I think that you can probably just 10 buggy diff them. Like if you're able to build up a board and start dropping 10 costs and then just like swing really, really tall, I think you can kill them. But I think the beer Luffy could probably give you a little bit of a trouble with that.
Whoever hits their big 10 drop first, like if you hit your 10 drop buggy and is removing their stuff, that's great. But if they hit their like 10 drop time warp Luffy, it can shift the game pretty heavily on his head by taking those 2 big swings in a row after you've already used your blockers 1 turn prior. Like, I think that's going to be the difference makers. Which 10 cost is dropping first, and how are they setting it up?
Yeah, that's real. And then last, I've got a green purple Luffy. It's probably too fast for you still, because it's like the only thing you can really turn off is the 4-cost Zorojuro, which is still pretty impactful because that's a lot of their like early game swings. But like their Sanji pudding and their what do you call it? Their the secret Luffy are able to still attack just fine.
Plus 7K rush one, yeah. That's just not gonna be it. I mean,
that's not a bad deck to be met into when you're so good into everything else.
You can just spam blockers on the board.
Yeah. And I mean, you're guaranteed going to be able to remove their secret Luffy or your Sanji pudding with a 10-cost buggy despite the stage.
They'll get 1 swing with it.
Yeah. How it helps other decks, it does not. Like, all these cards are leader locked. They're like, if your leader is buggy, like some of them, like this emoji, I mean, that list, this part's not locked, but it's like none of these cards are going to be playable outside of buggy. But
none of the cards are good in anyone else but buggy. Even if the on wasn't for buggy, it's just not good else. Like, they are made to fit this cross type.
One final thing we wanted to talk about was this 4-cost buggy. I think it's definitely an interesting card. I'm not the hugest fan of it, but I think that I can buy the idea of playing it off of the Meekroc um, in order to expand your ability to what you're able to do on the same turn that you establish a Meatcroc using your leader effect. But overall, I'm still a little bit concerned as to how negative the card makes you go. So it definitely depends on how good you're doing in hand size as to whether or not I think you can do this and be safe.
I think this card should be a 4 of, and like
hold
every
up.
single. Like,
I need to mute you on Discord.
okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think this card should be a 4 of, and like every deck. I think there's only one card you should be playing off of that, and that's the 6 cost.
What about Dofi? What about Boa? You say every deck.
Oh my god, shut up! I hate you. It needs to be 4 of in Buggy
Okay.
pretty easily. Plays 6 cost Miyok off at every time. You can play it on your second Dawn turn. Go in. It helps your second curve so much to establish a 6 cost a turn earlier, letting you establish even more on your next turn. I think this card is gas. I think it should be played in every Buggy deck.
You know what else is gas?
So,
resting 5 Dawn and trashing 1 card to play any cross-killed character.
Yeah, but you can only do that when you're at 5 Dawn. This allows you to do when you're at 4 Dawn, 2 to play the Miyok to draw 2 trash 1 and set up a 7k blocker. But, and on the 5 cost turn for resting 5, trash a card, play whatever, Mihawk into this, trash a card into, not Mihawk, the Meatcroc or whatever, stupid name, into Mihawk is peak, and I think this card is good. And it should be in the deck.
I guess he has like 2. I think that's like 2 of is probably the most that I would personally run.
Look, every deck that's been successful, every Buggy deck that's been successful with Buggy since the starter deck release, they're legal, have ran 4 of these cards.
How many events have there been that ran the starter deck cards?
I can go look in like 2 seconds. One Piece top decks. Deck list.
Has there been a single event in the starter deck format?
I saw multiple Buggy lists that were running it. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are on One Piece top decks that I can tell. There are 6 lists. Buggy runs a 4 up and
fair enough. Maybe I need to throw the card in. I haven't done enough testing.
I do think it's also, this is proof to like Buggy, the deck being so like big on theory crafting and deck building crafting more into other decks where you can slot this card out and slot it out depending on your play style.
Right. All right. We can move on to the next deck, which is Purple Black Luffy.
Yeah. So a couple of the cards, most of these are pretty gas except for General Frankie. General Frankie is just not that great. Dawn -2 for -2k to 2 characters. For 8 Dawn, it's just not that great. It doesn't do much on the curve. The 2 cards that came out of this, obviously, that are the huge ones, is first Beer Luffy, which is in comparison, like...
do you want me to read it out real quick?
Oh, yeah, you go for it.
It's a 6 cost 7k. It's like the 7 cost Kid. It has an on play / win attacking effect, but this one does Dawn -2. If your leader is multicolored and your opponent has 5 or more Dawn cards on your field, your Straw Hat Crew type leader's base power becomes 7k until your opponent's next end phase.
Yeah. I forgot whatever I said earlier might be the best individual card to come out of this deck, come out of these starter decks. This is by far the best one. It being both an on-play win attacking effect that in the leader you get to do for free because you will ramp arrested and active. So functionally what this card actually does is restand a Dawn and then do the effect in this deck, which is an insane combo to be at a 7k leader. Every turn it's on the board. And with this deck being just super consistent at this point with a bunch of searchers and 4 of this being here, even if it gets removed one turn, you'll be able to set it up the next turn. It's just such a good card that drastically puts Purple Black Luffy into like a top tier deck in this upcoming format, purely on the basis that it just like can be a 7K leader for so long. And like
Consistently, yeah.
yeah, consistently. And how me and Nathan talked about earlier is just like that is it literally to get out of a 12K swing, a Gum Gum Giant and a 2K, which you will have.
Another thing that's crazy about this card in the deck that it was designed for, I'll pull up the leader. A lot of people forget about this effect, but this is one of the leaders that increases the cost of characters on the board if you attach a Dawn to him. So this leader makes the Beer Luffy into a 7K, or no, not a 7K, a 7 cost, which is incredibly important because the 9 mom can only send a 6. So if you have a Dawn on your leader, then you're able to protect this Beer Luffy from being hit by cards like Gravity Blade and 9 mom, which is
and
just
you can do
insane.
that all in 6. And you can do that all in 6 Dawn with
Yeah.
this plus the leader effect, because you'll restand one, you attach the lead, and it's just like game
Like
over.
the best way for you to remove this as like a blue purple is to red rocket, and that just is terrible.
Yeah,
Like a
so
terrible
playing
way to
6
remove this card.
is never fun. It's a good card. It's the best card probably to come out. Next though, out of this deck is the Nico Robin, the 3 cost. You can read it out really quick.
Yeah, so this one is a 2K. It is a 3 cost 4K. On play, you Dawn -2 and add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So functionally, you get rid of 2 rested Dawn, get back a rested Dawn and an active Dawn, and then ramp another active. So you go Dawn plus
Also,
1.
make sure you're saying 2K counter, not just like 2K, because you're going 2K 3
Yeah.
power to 4K, whatever. So this card is obviously good because you can play a 3 cost character for 2 Dawn, because you will ramp 2 Dawn back over your deck anyways on the Dawn -2. So it functionally costs 1 by the end of the effect. But it's also 2K, which is nice. 4K power, so you throw a Dawn for late game sleeves. It somehow made it all the way through there. But being ramping this consistently this early is amazing, obviously. Plus, when you're playing it out, you'll be at minimum 3 Dawn, so boost you to 4. Wait, math. Yeah, boost you to 4. Then the literal next turn, you can play out 6 cost Luffy. That is a very broken going first curve. Like, this deck went from, I don't know which you wanted to go first, second before him, but its first curve is
So the issue with going first before was you have the Zoro, which does the same thing as this, but on a better statted body, but it's only a 1K counter. But now you have the Nico Robin, so you have the ability to run 8 copies of the Zoro, but 4 of them are now Robin, and so you have a way higher chance of hitting this on 3 than you did when you were only able to run the 4 copies of the 3 cost 5K Zoro.
Isn't the Zoro a win attacking effect too?
No, it's an on play. It's an on play that does literally the same thing. I'm pretty sure it's
okay.
Dawn -2 and then ramp 1 active.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, this first curve is actually just coming insane for what this can do. The consistently has plus with
You're gonna have consistent ability to ramp on 3.
Plus, you're gonna be probably 1-drop surgery most of the time, anyways. Being able to find this, and it's just like it is broken what it can do.
100%.
Like I can't get over this. Turn 3, just being able to drop Nico Robin, restand 2, functionally send 7 at life at the same time, and then being a 7K leader the next turn. That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the matchups. Oh no, Soba Mask. Okay, Soba Mask it's a generically good card on the fact that you can play. Can you read the effect really quick?
Yeah, so this one's a 7 cost 9K. If you have a Sangoro or Sanji character with 7K base power or more, give this card in your hand -5 cost, and then on play you have to return all Sangoro or Sanji characters to the owner's hand.
So I'm actually a lot more up on this card than most people, specifically for the combo that happened with the other 7 cost Sanji. I think this card is gas on the basis of if you play the 7 cost Sanji the turn before or whatever, give it rush, Dawn -1, blah blah. and then you swing with it, and then the next turn you swing with it too. And this card function allows you to protect that rush card by returning it back to your hand after and only playing this for 2 Dawn. So theoretically, on a 9 Dawn turn, you can play out 7 cost Rush Sanji, rest something, give it a rush, swing into it, and then with your leader effect, you'll get it back anyways because of the purple black Luffy effect of whenever you Dawn -2 or more. I mean, Dawn -2, get 1 rest to get 1 active. This card then allows you to get that back and protect that card out while establishing a 9k body that same turn. I think that is insane value to get from this card. But second off, it's just really, really, really good in the Teach matchup. If the Teach starter decks make Teach much more popular, expect this card to go up to a 4 of in a lot of decks just to make sure they can stomp the Teach matchup even more by just sitting on the fact the on play will be turned off. And then you get this to stick out there with other Sanjis. But also, at worst, they give you on plays, and now you have your on plays late game, which is something Teach does not want you to have in this deck anyway. The Chopper card was mid, I have written down here. I cannot remember why, but...
Yeah, we only have to go over the impactful ones. The Chopper is pretty bad.
And then we go to the matchups.
Mm-hmm.
First, Blue Purple Luffy. This one is pretty heavily reliant on seeing the Beer Luffy. If you can become a 7k leader consistently and stop this card from being put into your life, from like how Nathan talked about with the 9-mom can't affect it with the +1 cost on it with the Monkey D. Luffy leader effect, makes this matchup actually pretty heavily in your favor if you can set up Beer Luffy's consistently. If you can't, which means something's gone horribly wrong, you're going to lose this matchup 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
It's purely reliant on can that Beer Luffy be set up and be consistently turning your leader into 7Ks, because then their 9K bodies are no longer that devastating. They're just like quote unquote 7K bodies to you because it takes a 2 and a 1 to get out of versus everything in the life.
And they're gonna want to use all their Dawn on the turn to play another like Sanji out, so it's like you are only going to have to deal with 9s and 10s. So it's like super easy to answer when you're a 7k base.
Gum Giant gets out of any 10k Secret Luffy, and then a single Gear 2 gets out of any of the 9 costs. Like, this is an insanely good value that Beer Luffy just sits up there.
Right.
Next is Betty. This is not great, to be honest. You're a 4-life leader. Betty's always going to have at least a decent matchup in the 4-life leaders because they can just go so wide and so fast and dominate you. But this, once again, it's really just Beer Luffy or die here, because if you can set a Beer Luffy, their effects once again feel like nothing to you because they're just like, you're a 7k leader, they can have all the 8k bodies in the world, and it means nothing to you. It's a 2k to get out of. Crossu obviously will make this matchup harder. Crossu sucks, but once again, it's still not devastating if you're a 7k leader because you could drop to 6k. That's still a Gear 2 or Gum Giant to get out of. This matchup's a lot better the more Beer Luffy gets established. If it doesn't get established, you're pretty down bad. Then again, that's how a lot of this deck is going to be, but you will probably find it. Buggy, in my opinion, I don't have a lot of practical testing with this deck combinations against each other, but in theory, I think this is around a 50-50 matchup. The 5-cost Sanji.
Yeah, the black one.
Oh, yeah. The black 5-cost Sanji is very helpful in this matchup. Pops their 5Ks or 4Ks. I mean, they're 4 costs, which means the 10k body can't remove your big stuff or your Beer Luffy or anything, etc. Because you won't, well, it can, but they won't play it because it'll bottom deck itself. And the Beer Luffy's help a lot to be able to keep up with their bigger bodies because it allows their 7k swings or 6k bodies to feel like nothing because they have to put Dawn on them, which a lot of times they're not really wanting to because they're trying to establish that leader effect as constantly as possible. And maybe, I don't know if Gum Lightning is on your screen.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't have it pulled up. It's
Well, I know you're on the leader.
It might be if I.
It's in the reprints. I know it was in the reprints.
Yeah, I've got Gum Lightning pulled up.
Yeah. Gum Lightning makes this matchup a little bit easier for getting rid of those, like blue blockers, but also some of those 6k bodies they're actively playing out. The removal is going to be really key in this black purple deck, is what you should be focusing on a lot of the times. So Gum Gum Lighting, I don't think will be popular off rip, but if Buggy becomes more popular, then I think Gum Gum Lighting becomes
I think it's
2-0.
just a generically good card as well because it helps out against Betty as well. It's just a removal event that's just solid and it's got a great
It is.
trigger.
The only reason why I think it's going to get less play is because there's a Don -2 effect, which means you're going to have to be choosing between this or Beer Luffy unless you want to be losing to Don.
Well, yeah, this is usually an early turn play, like just like the
Okay.
like use.
Well, then you're choosing between Nico Robin or this. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like a lot of times the curve, you're focusing on this. If you're playing this, you're not playing that or whatever. Is my logic behind it.
That's real.
But then again, it all probably depend on what like meta ends up forming.
It's definitely an option that helps you out, I think. Yeah.
And then finally, Green Purple Luffy. This matchup's still not that great for you, I think, on the fact that Green Purple is going to go too wide and just has constant Dawn restanding and Dawn management to the point where you can't do much. Where, yeah, you can get Beer Luffy out, but TBH having like they get 2 Secret Luffys on the board, it's probably GG, because that is most likely going to be 4 7k swings that at you, plus 2 more from Sanji Puddings, plus another one from their leader or Joro, where that's just too many swings to even get out of with Gum Gum Giant, Gear 2, or all the Dawn you could have up in hand. If they get set up, it's pretty much game over. If they don't get set up, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I would just say we skip into Teach because I think it doesn't help out other decks all that much. I don't know.
Other than Soba Mask, I don't think anything else really fits in another deck.
Yeah, probably not. And I think even Soba Mask is a very, very conditional because I think the only good targets for that is the 7-cost Sanji, which only really this deck can run. There's a couple others. I mean, like Nico Robin runs the 7-cost, or at least you do.
Yeah. My logic is like I think it might get the Sanji parry might get more if Teach gets more. Is kind of my logic.
That's fair. I think if it were 6K Sanji, it would be better. But because it's the 7K, there's just not as many good 7K base power Sanjis.
I mean, wait, does it say base power?
Yeah, base power. Yeah. So the 5-cost Sangoro that Purple Luffy used to run would not work for this.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we can go to Teach then.
Okay. Well, let you continue.
Yeah, another solid starter deck that came out with a lot of decent cards. We'll hop right into it. 7-cost Teach is probably the best card that came out of this deck. I've seen a lot of risks run it as 2 or 3, never really 4 on the base. Like, Teach is already a super tight list, so trying to find things to remove is just super difficult to get rid of. But 7-cost Teach is great in this deck because a lot of teachers are struggling in EBO2 and OP11 because they were playing Jack, which is not searchable, obviously. This makes a searchable Jack basically for you, so you can find off Full Ahead, Lafitte, or any form of other searchers, My Era Begins, etc. It makes this deck a lot more consistent, setting up just a constant removal body that's going to sit there. But then again, the on KO effect of add up to 1 black card from your trash to your hand is also insanely good because a lot of people are not going to want to remove this if you have any good black card in your trash.
Yeah.
Which means this.
I honestly think that the move, if you are playing this card, is like when you My Era, like rather than My Eraing and be like, okay, I have to grab the 10-cost, you just My Era and be like, okay. Like let the 10-cost go to the trash. It's gonna sit there, and if you ever KO my 7-cost, like you know what I'm gonna grab.
Yeah, like I was like that's obviously another good point. But my thing was like I think it also allows you to swing more free with the Burgesses. Like obviously you were swinging more free recently with the Kuzan being 5-cost Kuzan being an addition, but this even allows you to be like, fuck it. What happens if I swing a 6-cost Burgess here? I have 2 more in hand. What are they gonna do? Give me 1 more back? Like there is a constant debate where people be thinking about, do I want to remove this card? And most of the time, that answer is going to be no.
Yeah.
Next card that I think is pretty solid, once again, is the 6-cost Kuzan. I think this is good as a 2 of. I don't think any more of it is that necessary. I've seen people not run it and run to 2 of, is about the most I've seen.
Yeah, I think what like this card and say like the 7 cost teach are a little bit conflicting in my mind. I've heard the discussion amongst people talking about like the starter deck cards as well, that like you kind of have the option to pick if you want to play a more removal build of teach with the 7 cost, or if you want to gravitate towards some of these new cards like 6 cost Kuzan to like go harder on the just play Burgess and win strategy.
Yeah.
And I think you are best in picking one or the other. But yeah, I think even in the play Burgess and win, this is still probably only a 2 or 3 of.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything more in either list, but yeah, they aren't really run together. But this card is still generically really good. It once again makes your opponent really overthink any on KO, but it's also a blocker. By the way, the on KO effect is play up to 1 Blackbeard Pirates type character with a cost of 5 or less from your trash rested. This card is really good because you can control that on KO effect, though, because the blocker. So if you want to play a different card, you can play it out pretty simply.
It's like if it's their last swing, you know they're not going to be swinging again, and it's more than a 6 or 6 or more, just be like, okay, have my Kuzan, I'll grab grab a Burgess, play it out, and then I have a Burgess next turn that can swing.
Yeah, and it makes people overthink their swings too, even because they're going to have to be debating, do you want to have another body out there?
Right.
Yeah. All right. And then finally, the only last supporting card is the Devon. The effects aren't really good. It's just a slightly better, stronger, and the fact you're not going to be trashing a card from hand. This just replaces your Shiryu as just another 2K. Instead of 4 Shiryus, you run 4 Devons.
Yeah.
The effect isn't that important. It's just got an on KO draw on a card. It's kind of the only.
I think the Pizarro is also decent for a more aggressive build of Blackbeard.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you want to play the more Grago build, I guess.
But if you don't need to stage, it gives you the opportunity to turn a 1 cost into a 5K, and you can just start pinging, which is something that Blackbeard has historically not been able to do, because you're not going to be very aggressive until you're able to establish those cards like Burgess in the later game. But this lets you swing early.
My only problem with the card is I don't know what you would end up replacing from the other deck lists that's been existing, either in Burgess or Pop builds. And it's just like, you don't know what to replace them. Also, I just don't think that's the best version of Blackbeard that would exist. Like, I think if you want to be competitively viable, you go more in a Burgess or Pop route than more just like, I want to play an aggressive build. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. And we can hop on to the matchups now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First is Blue Purple Luffy. This is still pretty awful. I won't lie. They hit 1 9-cost Sanji into another 9-cost, and this match is pretty over from the rip. Because even if you can play a teach out that next turn.
Wait, what does the 9-cost Sanji do?
What?
What does the 9-cost Sanji do?
Play anything from 9 or less from the top of your deck.
So like activate main?
Oh yeah, it's an on play. Fuck, I forgot about that.
That's what I'm saying. And you're like, look, you can take away their 9-cost Sanji. It's just like every other deck. It runs some powerful on plays. If you're a good Blackbeard player, I think you can skill diff people who picked up Blue Purple Luffy that suck at the deck. But if
that's fair,
they're good and they put some pressure on your hand size, it can be a little stressful for sure.
That's fair. I'd be forgetting what decks do. It's fine. I hate that fucking deck.
Because it's like as soon as they're able to hit those, you have to start taking away their on plays, and they can get to 9 super, super quick. So they can get to the point where you're having to start trashing a card every turn by like turn 3, which is crazy.
I think the second reason, though, I still don't think this matchup is that great for Teach, is I don't think they can kill them fast enough to the point where your hand size can justify getting rid of cards at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I think they will be able to live long enough with Gum Gum Giants, Gear 2s, whatever blocker.
They also have Gravity Blade too, which is pretty crazy in this matchup.
Where it's like you can get rid of your Burgesses, they can bottom deck your Teaches, they can 8-cost Katakuri out there and restand everything on their board. So even if you're getting our free block here and there from their 9 cost or their 8 cost characters,
Yeah, they aren't actually like being punished for
not,
that.
Yeah, and they can restand them, and or there's just too many of them that they'll end up establishing. Like you can establish it. Like if you establish 4 teaches, you win obviously because that's how every game will work with that. But like the likelihood you're able to establish enough teaches to combat their board at the same time is just not possible. Because the only way you'll be able to remove their board is by either swinging your big cost Burgesses or swinging your teaches into their characters, which neither seem like a very viable strategy in this matchup.
Right. Then Belo Betty?
Yep, Belo Betty. Tough. Your 7 cost Blackbeard is your biggest hope, and even then it's going to get established way too late in this matchup. They're just too wide, and they're too fast for you to possibly do anything. Plus, Kurasu sucks.
Yeah.
Like, your only option...
Wait, what does Kurasu do?
It's the win attacking
Is that like in...
I'm gonna fight you.
Activate main when this character is played on this turn?
Bro,
or something?
Kurasu can still suck. It has a win attacking
Yeah, no,
effect
that's fair. That's fair.
The only time I've ever seen this lose is when Nathan beat me and they just had the fucking biggest goddamn shifts happen where I played 1 cost the Searcher and then they fucking doc queued it off. Like, that's like your only hope is if you get the hugest tempo shift of all time and then also Belo Betty bricks in hand like I fucking did that game. But this matchup's horrible. There's not much you can do.
Yeah,
you got to see the God curve. On to Buggy. Go cry. You're not doing anything. This is like
it's nearly unwinnable. It's probably one of the worst matchups in the game
ever. It's not good.
They have so many gimmicky on plays. Like now that they're getting the Soba mask, even then, like the Soba mask is not worse than the 10 cost Buggy.
Yeah, this is Buggy, not blue purple. So mask is purple, bro.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
So the Soba mask is like the closest thing to the 10 cost Buggy in the fact that you don't want to turn off their on plays because the on play is bad.
Yeah.
But like the 10 cost Buggy is like just the worst.
Yeah,
if it doesn't have an on play.
You turn off their on plays at 5 because you're scared of other things. They're just going to establish a 12k body in the board.
And then you just lose.
Yeah. If you don't do it, they get their on plays and you also lose. Like,
and they drop a Croc and then a Daz Bones or like a Croc and the other Daz Bones.
The promo Buggy turns off Burgesses. Like, you can't swing. It's just it's horrible. Unless you get like your only way to win is pray they low roll. You have 4 Burges on the board. You drop a teach, turn off the promo, and swing out and pray.
Right.
And even that might not be enough. Green Purple Luffy also sucks. It's a little better with the Kuzan blocker, but maybe like by 2% because you just have an earlier game blocker than just your 10 cost teach. But even then, they're just going to be too wide, and they have too many swings for you to possibly justify turning off on plays every turn because you need the counter in your hand. Like, in this matchup, they still maybe like Green Purple doesn't always want to be using the -2 Don restand your secret Luffy, but in this matchup, they do it like one time, and you're crying in a corner.
You do have the 6 cost Liberation event, which can be a little bit of a difference maker for Teach in this matchup, but
the problem is like that's going to be adjusting to the blue-purple matchup, and it's just like you have to take out other cards from a tight list for when no one's really running that anymore anyways.
Well, if you're running this deck post EBO2, you have to run Liberation at like at least 2.
Fair enough.
I think
it's just such a bad matchup, and even if you hit that, they just establish your board again in like 3 seconds. Because it gets rid of a 6 and a 3 cost, right?
No, 6 and a 4, but it's original cost, and so you can hit Sanji Pudding, even if it's been staged.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's just like the matchup's not even bad on the Sanji Pudding level. It's just when that Secret Luffy just swings that many times, you're just sitting there doing nothing, it feels like. So?
No, that's fair.
Alright.
You can also get rid of the Secret Luffy, but usually not after it swings.
Yeah, after
it
swings.
Not before it swings. is the last
Oh
one.
no, I'm talking about the matchup.
Oh, matchups. Yeah.
Black Purple Luffy, like we were talking about Buggy, this has become a lot more not in your favor due to the fact that Sanji, just like that Soba mask, makes it so much more confusing
Yeah.
when you're off on plays, especially in a purple
So,
deck.
and you don't even know if they're running it either, because it's definitely like a card that like they aren't going to run unless if they're planning on playing you.
Yeah, it's a very questionable deck choice, but it's like it makes Teach so much more awkward to play around and figure out stuff. Other than that, though, it's a normal big body with a lot of on plays. You want to turn it off late game, but the problem is that Nico Robin makes ramps earlier, so maybe you turn it off earlier at the 3 Dawn. Maybe you turn off the 6 cost too. Black Purple used to be a lot easier of matchup because you just knew you had to turn off late game, but now you have to think about turning it off at all points because they get one on 3 Dawn, they get one on 6 Dawn, and you're just like, well, shit.
Which are usually your worst matchups. Like I always said, like Dofi is such a bad matchup because you have to keep them off the entire game.
Yeah,
and this is one of those things that now they have stuff they can play at any point in the game that's really good.
The only thing that could theoretically help out of the decks is the 7 cost in Lucci, but I just think Jack is better for the filtering. But maybe if you want to go grab like 10 cost Kuzan or other things in your trash, that's your prerogative. It sounds really good. I just think filtering is better. But we can go to Yamato, the final deck. Also, pretty solid job here they did on the star decks. All around, most star decks minus Shanks, pretty solid.
Yeah, this one's honestly one of my favorite ones. With the support that it gave to the deck, and
simple deck though, so you can like give it to like anyone. It's just a great starting point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yamato Searcher. This might be the best card for this deck that came out of this, because the struggle with Yamato was always consistency. You could not search for Land of Wano cards on your first turn. Going first, you had you could maybe establish a 1 cost and then do it the next turn, but that was never ideal.
Well, you could, but it wasn't good. There was the 1 cost Otama Searcher, but that can only search for Green Land of Wano cards.
Yeah, the searching was bad. It's kind of fundamental thing here. But this makes the majority of the deck searchable, causing the entire game to be easier because you can pick out the cards you really do need. Should be a 4 of. Plus, the first thing is pretty cool. I think you'll use it very minimally. But late game, a lot of searchers are not removed from the board until you remove them. This could be a chance to get a random 5k swing into there for only 2 Dawn, which is pretty nice. Cool. Second card, also pretty good, is the Kozuki Momo. This card is actually pretty peak because of the leader effect, which I did not realize because I forgot about the Yamato's leader effect as double attack, but also when your opponent's at 3 or less life, it can attach 2 or more Rested On to whatever, basically. So this on 6k is pretty gas for on 6 costs. On your turn, if you have 2 or less life, your leader gains 1,000 power, but it has activate main once per turn. You can return 2 total of your currently given Dawn cards to your cost area rested. This character gains rush and plus 1,000 power during this turn. This is a really good rush card to have on 6 Dawn because you play it out, you leader effect to give it to your leader, you swing 7 with your leader, and then you use this effect to give it get rid of those 2 Dawn and then give it an AK and rush, so then you follow that with an AK swing that they probably already counted the double attack out of. It's just a really nice combo and a really good rusher to have that allows you to not be stuck relying on Hody, but also really helps your deck. Yeah.
Activate main as well, which is pretty good.
So even more stomps Blackbeard. But yeah, it is also it really helps your second Dawn curve because there's also another huge struggle with what's the word I'm looking for with Yamato.
Yeah.
That they were stuck with first and it was a die roll. This makes that a lot more winnable going second. Another card to talk about, because surprisingly a majority of these cards are actually pretty solid, is the Kinemon.
Yeah.
It's not like a crazy thing. It's just here for the trigger and the fact it's 2k. Leader is Land of Wano type and your opponent has 3 less life. Play this card. It replaces Satori in the deck because Land of Wano trigger and you're not stuck trashing a card to play it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more prerogative with the 3 or less life, but you're probably getting them
down. You got to get them down there anyway or you're probably losing, so it's like it's whatever.
It replaces Satori. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Next is the Doji card.
Yeah, the Ashura.
Yeah. This is, I think, debatably in the deck. Maybe
it's in the deck. 100%. Yeah, it's insanely good.
Fair enough. Cool. I always am 50-50 on a lot of cards here. But it's good on a KO's 5 cost. Like, that's what it does. It is a great late game play. You can pair it with the rare moments in life where they have 3 blockers on the board. You can Hody, rest 2 things.
Well, they have to have 3 or more life cards for you to do the effect. So it's more like if you want to pop a blocker early.
And then leader effect.
Yeah.
Not leader effect, then swing with leader. Yeah, I forgot. I didn't see that part. But yeah, still a gas card for like just early game removal blockers and swinging in with your leader. It's still amazing to have. Finally, is this Izzo card. Low-key forgot what it does, and that's why I need to check it.
Yeah, it's a 2 cost 1k with a 1k counter. It's another one of those if you give it to Dawn. What?
Onami's just better than this card.
You run both, I think.
Maybe. I think it's a 4-2 though, not like a 4-4.
Because it's like it gives your Land of Wano type leader banish, so you have another way to give your leader banish. Because it's like if you're using Onami, like playing her out, you're always giving your leader banish like 9.99999 times out of 10. But then it has a secondary effect of if you use your leader effect and give it to Dawn, it gains blocker.
Hold up, I'm lying. Yeah, this card's good. I just forgot about the leader effect again.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's really good. Like obviously,
I forget that leader effect.
Putting 2 Dawn, because it's like usually people only use the Yamato leader effect when it's like you're going for lethal. You drop Hody and you're swinging for game. But yeah, now it's giving you opportunities to use it before then, so maybe people will stop forgetting that Yamato does have a secondary leader effect because there's cards that do it before the last turn of the game.
I'm excited to see all the lists that are going to come out.
Oh, 100%. This is one of the most like divisive decks in the game right now.
These are going to be just so wild. Maybe I'll pick it up. Who knows?
Yeah, this is one I'm going to have put together and testing into, but it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of different cards here.
The Sims actually update.
Yeah, right.
All right. Cool. We can go into the matchups now.
Mm-hmm.
First, blue-purple. The starter deck helps a ton with the second curve, the searcher, the removal not so much, but at least the blocker with Izzo. The Momoski is great for another rush card in this option. This was already a pretty good matchup for y'all in general when you're running it as a 3 life leader. You hit your leader effect once, that's game for them. They're at 1 life so easy. Ideal against them is that forgot what it's called, but either the Demon Sword Slice that gives you plus 3k power.
Yeah, Blaze Slice or no, the Zora, the 3 cost demon event or whatever, the Zora event.
Or in that 2 cost character they trash and give yourself plus 3 cost or whatever. 3k power.
3k power, yeah. That's like the Azora Demon 9 Flash event or whatever.
And there's a character too that I'm thinking of. Forgot his name though. It's like Momo something. It's not in the starter deck. I played it at the thing. It doesn't matter. I know what I'm talking about. You can trash it, give yourself plus 3k power.
Okay, yeah. I know what you're wanting. The 2 cost?
Yeah. 2 cost.
Really it's like nice OP03 or something.
Yeah. Gas card. Most of the time, you're winning this matchup on the base you hit your leader effect once. I mean, if you don't hit it, they're giving you cards from hand, which is then again also amazing. But blue-purple just has such a high likelihood to be bricked up that early in the game. They'll most
yeah, I mean, if they see gear seconds, it can be a whole different story because it's like then they can counter out without dumping their whole hand. But like if they don't, it's a lot harder.
6 cards because that is 5 draw 1. Okay. But even then, if you're going second against them, and you can hit one of the either not the Demon Slice but the character and set that up so you can go plus 3k power then plus 3 Dawn for a 11k swing or whatever that would be at them on turn 2. Turn 2 is insane. This matchup's already really positive.
Yeah, no,
next
that's
is Betty. This is like not die roll, but it's a little bit luck based for both of y'all, in my opinion. Crossu's garbage. If they get most of those out there, it's game over. You can't do much to stop that. They'll go wide, they'll go fast, and you just can't do anything. But then again, if they don't see Crossu early game and you're just like kind of killing them and they're not getting triggers off life, it's over for them back to them too. It's kind of a 50-50, maybe a little bit more towards Belo Betty on the basis of just like they're going to have a lot more things to set up and be able to take a wider board than you can, even if you are hitting for double attack. Plus, with the Koala, they have the ability to take their own life anyways and not take their own life, set up blockers. They have a lot of really good abilities now at this point that just kind of set them up very, very well. When I played this matchup against a Belo with Yamato, the only reason I won is I possibly had the greatest triggers off life going from a 5-cost Nami into a 2-cost O Nami to pop 2 5-cost characters off their board, which was an insane play. Like, you need a little luck on your side, but they also need to be able to see their cross, which is kind of how it is. Next is Buggy. This is pretty much you have to be going fast as possible. If you take a turn off or you can't take their life, it's kind of just game, because they will set up too many blockers at their 5 on turn for you to do anything. If you can hit a big swing on their first turn, drop them at 3 life, and then hit them again when they're at 4 Dawn and they're at 1 life, then it's game over for you. But if they can live one of those, it's kind of GG, because they will just start establishing blockers for days and you can't do anything. But if you can get them low enough, Hody is pretty much just an automatic GG because they'll rest 2 of those blockers. Green, purple, you're just rolled. They're going to go too wide. They're going to swing too much. Even if they're taking life early, they're just going to get to that 6 on Secret Luffy, outrush you, plus the Sanji puddings. There's not much you can do at that point when they're just going that wide that easy. It's why Dofi was really bad for this matchup. They just went too wide. And finally, Black Purple Luffy. Gum Gum Giant sucks, as always. It allows them to get away with getting out of your leader swing pretty easily.
Yeah.
Plus, the Beer Hody makes this a lot more awful, because you can't just pressure them with a lot of Dawn on your leader anymore for the double attack, because they're going to be a 7k leader. Theoretically, you could experiment with the Law and Beppo from the what's their name, Bonney starter deck, where you can become a 7k leader. But even then, that's not going to help you much, because only for that turn. I'll think about it. But there's not a way around Beer. You're going to have to be looking to remove it or swing into it.
No, I mean, it's just they're going to be in a position where they're putting a lot of pressure on you, and they're going decently wide. And it's like, once you get to them to the point where they're like at 0 life or whatever, like, you're just not going to be able to kill them. Yeah, Hody is your saving grace. You have to see Hody to rest their Dawn for Gum Gum Giant, or you lose.
It's not like, once again, they're a 4 life leader, so like you can still swing very early and often into them, but you need to hit them for that first swing. If they can counter out your first 8k swing, it's probably GG.
Them being a 4 life leader is probably the only upside for Yamato in that matchup.
Yeah, there's not a lot going on.
Because it's two double attack swings, you get them to 0. So
this and Buggy, though, are like the 2 deck lists and experimentations I'm really excited to work with, though.
Yeah. We might go through these leaders and put together like a testing list that we think, and in another video. I don't know if we'll end up doing that. That might be something that's on our radar. But if not, I hope you enjoyed us going through all of these different starter deck leaders and these cards. I hope we've given you our insights and some things to think about the different cards that are being released in these sets of starter decks. If you disagree with any of our takes, feel free to let us know in the comments below. We definitely had some hot takes, haven't tested a lot of these. They're not on the sim yet, and so testing options have been a little limited.
It's pretty much all just based off theory crafting.
Yeah, what we think is going to work, and we haven't done that testing to know for sure one way or the other. And I don't think anyone has really put in too much work. And so who knows? We'll see when the meta actually forms and what we see actually rise to the top in this format for us in OP11 with the starter decks. But I think until then, we'll just have to see. These cards look very promising, and have very much enjoyed going through them.
Yeah. Have fun. See y'all next time.
All right. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos on the channel coming up soon.